I know that no one has really seen me for a while on either of my channels. I've been sick the whole time. So yes, I have been sick for over a month and I still seem to not be 100% okay. The last few weeks I haven't really been that reading motivated just because I hadn't been feeling well. I still managed to get some reading done, but I'm not going to talk about that right now, mainly because I don't feel like looking up what I read. So I'm just going to talk about the stuff that's just fresh off of the top of my head. Obsidio, which is the finale of the Illuminae Files, was released. I read it and finished it and loved it. I had ran into this trilogy on accident. I believe the first book caught my eye before it was released because the library has access to books before they're released, so they can put them out on release day. The covers are absolutely gorgeous. The photos don't do them justice. I opened up the book and I saw all this stuff that didn't make any sense. I saw swirls, like that you have to read in swirls and turn the book this way. And as I read The Dust Jacket, I realized that this was a book that was kind of told in files, hence being called the Illuminae Files, but told in files, so it's told in the emails that have been recovered, and transcribed surveillance footage, other types of recordings, things like that. I fell in love with that one. The second one was called Gemina, and I think that came out last year, the year before, I'm not sure. This one, I think, was just a case of second book syndrome. It was fine, I liked it, but it did not grab me in the way that the first book had. But I was still looking forward to the last book, Obsidio, which I had to look up the word Obsidio. It's Latin. It could mean barricade or siege. If I had to pick one, I would think it would mean siege, but it could be both. If you read the third book, you'll see why I say that. But anyway, basically the entire series are files, documents that are covering this specific time of war. A small little planet got invaded. The three books, it follows a different duo each time, male and female. You get a different perspective of what's happening during this war, during this invasion. First book gripped me because, oh goodness, it's been a while, but you basically are following a young woman that lives on a ship up until the events that are coming. It was like she was a regular teenager, she's mad at her boyfriend or ex-boyfriend, and now she has to deal with not only a war, thrown into a war and an invasion, but she also has to deal with this murderous AI that's supposed to be controlling the fleet that all of a sudden turns on the ship and is like killing everybody. And then on top of that, there is a fear virus, or what I think the book called a Phobos virus, that is spreading, and it causes people to go panicky and end up like killing people because they can't deal with it. Was either they can't handle people looking at them, or they just can't handle seeing other people's eyes, or both. That was creepy. Because that was the first book in the series, I was not sure if it was going to be like that each time, because I was like, what is this, some sci-fi horror? Because it was a little creepy. But no, it is sci-fi, but it's not epic sci-fi. So if you're the kind of person who can't deal with reading sci-fi books, it's just not your thing, this is probably not going to be a turn off for you. It's not that kind of sci-fi. It's just more sci-fi for the sake of the fact that it takes place in the future and it's on a spaceship, but it's not like it's using a whole bunch of sci-fi terms or something. Then the second book, this was, oh my goodness. Okay, I don't remember much about the second book. I only vaguely remember it. In fact, when they re-referenced the two kids from the second book, I was like, oh boy, should I have went over it? Because I completely remember the first two teenagers from the first book. Couldn't remember this, but maybe it's because I didn't like it as much. But it's a completely different perspective. We have people from a different ship, so another part of the war. Same war, so you know, you will see all these people in the end and how they connect. But yeah, it's another part of the invasion, and there was like some creepy space creature that was like sucking the life out of people. It was weird. But it was kind of like Illuminae kind of went like that. Illuminae, whatever it's called, went like this. And then Gemini went like this. Gemini. Okay, the other thing was there was two realities that were happening at the same time. They had to stop they basically had to stop the world from like imploding or exploding. It's a coming of age in a way where you have these kids that that are just kids, teenagers. They're thrown into these situations where they're the hero and they didn't even ask to be a hero. And then the third, I know I'm barely making any sense, but so then the third book is you have two things happening. One is that you're following the two final teenagers, but you're also finding out at this point what happened to Katie and Ezra, the male and female from the first book, and Nick and Ella? Hannah. Can't remember now. Nick and Hannah, I believe, from the other book, and it's all coming together. It's kind of all over the place, but with the main two characters, it's right there on the planet as opposed to in space. So you're seeing like the direct repercussions of this invasion, where you have the bad guys basically destroyed their planet. They've killed thousands upon thousands of people or liquidated them, and then the remaining people are forced to do all this mining just so these invaders can leave the planet. So it's a lot about survival, but it's also about being a hero when you don't necessarily want to be. And yes, there is love in there, but it's not overly so, because then it would get on my nerves, because I'm not a big romance person. I don't know, I just not a good reader of romance. I loved the last one. I wasn't sure how I was gonna like it because, like I said, I had the second book syndrome, and I'm like, oh, does that mean the third one I'm not gonna like? Maybe the first one was a fluke. Now that I think about it, I think I liked Obsidio better than Illuminae, and I didn't think that was gonna be the case. First of all, it's been the first book in a while out of anything that I've read that actually got me extremely emotional. Like, I was actually getting teary-eyed, my heart was pounding. I mean, I remember I was on Litsy and I saw another person on Litsy had said that they cheered, and I knew exactly what they felt like because I was reading this and I was like, yeah, I felt like cheering. It was just so good. Like I said, I wanted to like jump up and down. At first, because I haven't been feeling well for the first couple pages, I was kind of like not really into it. And then all of a sudden things picked up and then I couldn't put it down. For the finale, I think it just ended very well. It kept me guessing. You don't see a lot of the murderous AI in the second book, even though he does appear. He is there a lot again in the third book. All these files are being submitted to show all the crimes that Biotech committed. You know, all these war crimes that they committed, all the horrific things that they have done. These files were to be passed on even if any of the main characters pass away. But I know I'm being kind of vague. I am trying as much as I can to get better at describing things without telling too much of the story. But I think the main thing is that obviously this is in the future and this is 3 different perspectives of war and invasion, and it's coming of age. But I feel that even if you are not a YA person, I would say at least go for the first book. It's told in documents. It's not something that is going to take too much of your time. You'll get through it pretty quickly. So if you don't like it, then I'm so glad that I read it. I was the first person to check it out because I was pestering all the librarians because I knew it was being released this month. I just didn't know what day. And I asked the children's librarian because she orders the YA books along with the rest of the children's books. And she's like, oh, we probably got it in, I'll let you know. And they put it on hold for me. So on the release date, I got it. It took me a while to really sit down because I hadn't been feeling well, but I got it. And that's the main thing I wanted to talk about because I did read some stuff in February and I read some stuff throughout this month, but the main thing is just how excited I was. The ending of the entire trilogy, I think it fit. I think it really tied everything together very well. It's just a good ending. It's not one of those endings where everything's ambiguous and it's like purposely open-ended just in case they wanted to put another book out. It has a good conclusion. So for those of you that have read the other books and haven't gotten to this one yet, I do believe it's worth your time.